There are some genuinely great series on Netflix right now. Scroll the popular section and you'll find something. But if you've seen all that and you want recommendations, the algorithm just isn't going to surface for you, I've got 10 highly underrated picks. All the streaming availability for every show today is in the first pinned comment. Starting with my bottom pick, KATLA. This one is Icelandic, one season, and it has a pretty simple but genuinely original concept. There's a small town in Iceland near an active volcano. The volcano has been erupting for a while, most people have left, and then people start showing up. Dead people, missing people, folks who haven't been seen for years just wandering out of the ash, alive, with no explanation for where they've been or how they got there. And the show doesn't rush to explain it either, which is honestly the right call. It's a slow burn, very atmospheric, very quiet, and it leans into dread rather than jump scares or big reveals. The Icelandic landscape does a lot of heavy lifting here. It's bleak and beautiful and kind of oppressive all at once, and it makes the supernatural stuff feel grounded in a way that's hard to manufacture. The core question the show keeps circling is basically, if someone you lost came back but wasn't quite the same, would you want that? It's a grief story disguised as a supernatural mystery, and the emotional weight of that question sticks with you. It's not a perfect show, and the pacing will lose some people, but if you like quiet, thoughtful sci-fi that trusts you to sit with something uncomfortable, KATLA is one season and absolutely worth your time. Now for another one that flies completely under the radar, a Thai-language Netflix original called The Stranded. A group of high school students survives a tsunami, ends up trapped on a remote island, and then strange things start happening that nobody can explain. On the surface, it sounds a lot like Lost, and that comparison is fair to a point. But what makes The Stranded different is that the supernatural mystery is built entirely from a Thai cultural perspective. The folklore, the belief systems, the way these characters make sense of what's happening to them, and that makes it feel genuinely fresh rather than a Western genre template with a different cast. There's a mid-season reveal that completely reframes everything you've been watching, and it's the kind of moment where you want to go back and rewatch the earlier episodes knowing what you know now. It's one season, it's not a massive time commitment, and the performances are better than you'd expect. It doesn't resolve everything cleanly, which might frustrate some people, but if you like mysteries that leave you thinking, this is an easy recommend. Thai language originals are some of Netflix's most overlooked content, and The Stranded is a good example of why that's a shame. Now for a Spanish language true crime drama that I think is just as gripping as anything Money Heist ever did, but got a fraction of the attention. It's called Burning Body, and it's based on a real case out of Spain. A police officer's body is found burning in a car, the investigation opens up, and then layer by layer it becomes clear that the people who are supposed to be solving this are tangled up in it. Affairs, corruption, betrayal inside the force itself, it's all there. The pacing is deliberate. It's not an action show, but the slow build works because the performances are convincing, and every episode peels back a little more deception. By the midpoint, you'll be watching purely for the character dynamics because the actual mystery almost becomes secondary to watching people protect things they shouldn't. The fact that it's based on a true story adds weight to every twist. It's one of those shows where you keep thinking, this can't actually have happened, and then remembering that it did. One season, Spanish language, and if you're a fan of procedural crime dramas that take their time and pay it off, Burning Body is really well done. For something completely different, a German language historical action drama called BARBARIANS. It's set in 9 AD, and it follows 3 childhood friends who end up on opposite sides of the conflict between the Germanic tribes and the Roman Empire, leading up to the Battle of Teutoburg Forest, which was one of the most catastrophic military defeats Rome ever suffered. The show is brutal in a way that feels earned rather than gratuitous. It doesn't romanticize the warfare or turn battle sequences into choreography. Everything feels consequential and messy. What I think separates it from a lot of shows in this genre is the language detail. Characters speak German or Latin, depending on which side they're on. It sounds like a small thing, but it creates this constant reminder that these people genuinely don't share a world, and it adds an authenticity you almost never see in historical dramas. 2 seasons, and it holds its own against Vikings or The Last Kingdom, which is what most people compare it to. If you burned through both of those and needed more, Barbarians is the next logical step, and it might actually be tighter than either of them. Before I get into my next pick, if you're getting value out of this list, hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I make these videos specifically to surface stuff the algorithm isn't going to show you. 2 videos every week, so if that's useful to you, subscribing is how you make sure you don't miss them. Now for an Italian language period drama that I don't think enough people know exists. It's called The Law According to Lydia, POET, and it's based on the true story of Italy's first female lawyer working in 1880s turn. The legal system at the time officially banned her from practicing, so she finds every workaround available while also solving crimes on the side because she's that kind of person. Each episode is a self-contained mystery case with a larger personal story threading underneath, which makes it very easy to binge. You can watch one episode and feel satisfied, and then you immediately want the next one because the character is that compelling. Matilde De Angelis in the lead is genuinely excellent. She plays Lydia as funny and fierce and occasionally reckless in ways that feel real rather than calculated. 3 seasons, which means Netflix clearly knew what they had here. The mystery writing is sharp, the feminist angle never tips into lecturing, and the production design of 19th century Turin looks incredible. If you like period dramas that move fast and have a strong lead, this is one of the better ones on the platform. Now for a German historical drama that I think gets dismissed as background TV and really shouldn't be. It's called The Empress, and it follows the early years of Empress Elizabeth of Austria, her unexpected marriage into the Habsburg court, and her refusal to be absorbed by it. I'll be honest, the premise sounds like a fairy tale setup, but the show is sharper and more politically ruthless than that description suggests. The Habsburg court is depicted as gorgeous on the surface and completely merciless underneath, and the political dynamics play almost like a thriller at times. What makes it work is that Elizabeth isn't softened for audience sympathy. She's impulsive, she makes choices that backfire, she's right in ways nobody will acknowledge, and the show holds all of that without trying to make her easier to root for. Devrim Lingnau in the lead is really strong. She carries the show through both the romantic storylines and the political brutality of court life. 2 seasons, German language, and visually it's one of the better looking shows on the platform. Every frame looks expensive. If you like historical dramas with actual political tension rather than just costumes and romance, The Empress is worth going back to. Now for one of my favorite limited series Netflix has produced in the last few years that almost nobody seems to have watched. It's called The Playlist, and it tells the story of how Spotify was built. I know that sounds dry, but the way they tell it is genuinely clever. It's structured Rashomon style, 6 episodes, each one following a different person involved in the company's early years. The visionary, the coder, the lawyer, the artist. Same events, 6 completely different versions of what happened, and each episode reframes your understanding of the people you just spent an episode with. It's morally complicated in a way that the social network comparison everyone makes is actually accurate. Nobody's purely right, nobody's purely wrong, and the show is pretty ruthless about showing how we're changing the world and we're dismantling people's livelihoods were happening at the same time. The Swedish specificity to it keeps it from feeling like a generic prestige tech drama. The culture, the relationships, the particular flavor of idealism crashing into the music industry, it all feels authentic rather than borrowed. 6 episodes, sharp writing, fast pacing. This one dropped quietly and got buried, which is a real shame because it's one of the tightest limited series on the platform. I'm gonna keep this one simple because the pitch basically sells itself. 5 episodes, around 40 minutes each, a newly appointed MI6 chief discovers that his past is about to surface and destroy everything. His career, his marriage, his life. That's the setup. What makes Treason work is that it wastes absolutely nothing. 5 episodes, no filler, no setup episodes, no slow burns that ask you to be patient. Every episode earns its place. Charlie Cox leads the show, and he's really good in it. It's a much quieter, more controlled performance than Daredevil, and it works perfectly for the material. The spycraft feels grounded, the family drama intersects with the espionage in ways that feel organic, and the British cast around him is solid across the board. It got almost no marketing push when it dropped and came and went without most people noticing, which is the main reason it's on this list. If you like spy thrillers that respect your time and don't underestimate you, Treason is the perfect weeknight binge. Start it after dinner, finish it before midnight. That's genuinely how it works. Now, my number 2 pick, and this one I've recommended before, but I'm putting it on the list again because I know plenty of people still haven't found it. It's called GYEONGSEONG Creature, and it's a Korean horror period drama set in 1945 Japanese-occupied Seoul. A wealthy businessman and a young woman end up investigating something terrible hidden in the basement of a military hospital. Part historical drama, part creature horror, and the blend works far better than it has any right to. The production design is stunning. Occupied Seoul feels real and heavy and specific in a way that clearly took serious effort. The tension builds slowly and deliberately, and when the horror arrives, it hits hard because the show earned it. The creature design is genuinely inventive, and they use it sparingly, which is the right call. The closest comparison I can make is The Host, the Korean monster movie filtered through a period espionage thriller. 2 seasons, and the second season goes somewhere unexpected that I won't spoil, but absolutely justifies the commitment. If Squid Game is the only Korean Netflix original you've seen, you are genuinely leaving some of the best content on the platform on the table. This is a good place to start fixing that. And my number 1 pick is a German language show called KLEO, and I don't think I can oversell this one. It's about a former East German spy who gets betrayed by her own government, goes to prison, gets out right after the Berlin Wall falls, and then goes on a revenge spree across 1990s Germany. That's the whole pitch, and it delivers on every part of it. What makes KLEO stand out is that it's funny, like genuinely, intentionally funny. Dark comedy thriller, and that tonal balance is really difficult to pull off. Most shows that try to blend violence and humor end up either too silly to take seriously or too grim to enjoy, and KLEO threads that needle perfectly. Every time the comedy earns a laugh, the serious moments that follow land harder because of it. Jella Haas in the lead is magnetic. She plays KLEO as genuinely terrifying and oddly sympathetic at the same time, and you end up rooting for her in spite of yourself. The 1990s German setting, this bizarre transitional period right after reunification, where nobody quite knows what the new rules are, gives the show a flavor you just don't see anywhere else. 2 seasons, and I genuinely put KLEO up against any thriller on the platform regardless of language or country of origin. It's one of the most purely entertaining shows Netflix has produced, and it's just sitting there waiting to be found. Alright, if this list was useful to you, leave the video a like. It genuinely helps more than you'd think. I'll keep making these as long as you keep watching them. Thanks for checking out the list, and I'll see you on the next one.